All right, all right. Well, go ahead and grab a seat. It's good to see everybody in deep conversation. Hey, here's what I want to do today in the next few moments that we share. I want to kick off our 21-day prayer and fasting journey, or I want to introduce it. Maybe that's a better way to say it. Again, if you are new to the space, new to our community, one of the things that we do every year is we start the year, the month of January, in a period of prayer and fasting, an intentional time for us to center ourselves and to align ourselves with our Creator. And usually what we'll do is we'll also have a theme that's connected to our 21-day prayer and fasting journey. And sometimes that theme for the month becomes actually the theme for the year. Last year, our theme, how many of y'all remember our theme for our 21 days last year, which was a whole 365 days ago? Long time ago. Anybody remember our theme for last year? Who said it? That was Diane. There it is. All in, all in. All in was the theme last year. Who remembers the theme from before? 21 days, 2023. Anybody? Hey, Matt, okay. Reimagine. Reimagine. That was our theme. What about the year before? I don't even remember. So if anybody remembers, help me out too. 2022? Some are like, we didn't pray and fast in 2022. This year, here's the theme. You ready for it? The theme this year is believing for more. Believing for more. Come on, turn to your neighbor right now and say, let's believe for more in 2025. Thanks for the enthusiasm. Chris, who leads our prayer ministry, and we're so excited for what's to come for the prayer ministry in 2025. But we've been kind of working together, and she's been helping me just think about what these 21 days of prayer and fasting might look like. And as we were discerning and praying and talking over the past couple of weeks, a couple words just kept coming back to us. And one of them was belief or believe. The other one was hope. I think the other one was possibility. The other one was more, just the word more. And, we are praying so fervently to God. We're like, God, what's the word? There's like 5 different ones, and God wouldn't give us an answer. So we decided that we just put them all together in a phrase called believing for more, believing for more. And I want to name at the top of this, and for the next couple of weeks, we'll be talking about this theme, this idea of believing for more as it pertains to our 21 days. And today, particularly, we're going to get into all the kind of the logistics of how it's going to work and how you can participate with us. But I do want to name at the top that I realize that a theme, a phrase like believing for more, might resonate with people a little bit differently. All right, maybe some of you hear that word, you hear that theme, and immediately, like, it inspires you, it excites you, right? Because you're that type of person that you've already made your New Year's resolutions, you've already started making big plans, like you've already been telling yourself, like, man, this is my year, 2025, this is my year where I'm doing some big things. And so when you hear this idea, this phrase of believing for more, some of you are like, man, that stirs some excitement on the inside of you. But I want to acknowledge, too, that might not be the case for all of us. That maybe some of you, when you hear this phrase, this idea of believing for more, as cute as it might sound, as inspiring as it might sound, the reality is for you, that idea actually sounds a little hard. It sounds a little challenging. Perhaps it invokes within you fear, uncertainty, ideas of disappointment, because maybe, just maybe 2024 was a year where you didn't see a lot of more. In fact, 2024, maybe what you experienced is a lot of scarcity, not abundance. Maybe 2024 for you was a year of disappointment, a year of regrets, a year of what seemingly seemed like failure. Maybe for you, 2024 was a hard, challenging, and difficult year. And so when you come to the top of 2025, January 5th, first Sunday of 2025, for you, the only thing that you're really thinking about is all the things that didn't go the way that you hoped and wanted them to go last year. Right? You had big plans for 2024, but life, as it would, had different plans. And so the reality is that maybe you're coming into the space and you're like, believing for more? Like, what's the more? I don't know if I could believe, because I tried to believe last year for more and nothing materialized for me. Or maybe it's not even that. You're coming in realizing all the things that are happening, even just current events. You know what's happening, the wars and the conflicts and the things that are happening not just halfway across the world, but things that are happening in our own neighborhoods and in our own communities. Maybe for you, you're thinking about this new administration, the incoming president, and as a woman, as a person of color, as an immigrant, as someone who identifies as LGBTQ, it's hard for you to believe that maybe there's goodness and possibility and beauty that is to be had in 2025. And so I just want to name that because I think the reality is, and if that is you, can I just say something really quick? If that is you, you're like, yeah, believing for more, as much as my heart would want to say yes to that, I don't know if I could say yes to it yet. If that's you, I want to say two things. Number one is you're not alone. You're not alone. And I'm so glad that you're here. But number two is this, is that I think the reality is that if we're honest with ourselves, believing for more is actually oftentimes easier said than done. Come on, anybody that would tell you it's easy to believe for more, either they're lying to your face, or two, they're so privileged that they've been able to afford and receive all the things that their heart has ever desired. And so I would say for most of us, if you're a normal human being, believing for more, I think, is actually a hard thing to do. It could be challenging. And I was thinking about, like, what makes, I don't know, what do you think? Why do you think sometimes it is that believing for more can be such a hard, difficult, challenging thing? In fact, turn to your neighbor really quick and talk about that for just a few minutes. Why do you think believing for more sometimes could be a little bit challenging? Maybe think about this even. Ask yourself, consider this. Is there an area in your life right now where you would want to believe for more, but it's really hard to believe that more is possible? So take a few moments right now and turn to your neighbor. Group up 2 or 3. I wasn't planning on doing this, but I feel like we should just have a little conversation. So take just a few minutes and talk about that. Why do you think it is difficult sometimes to believe for more? Or is there an area in your life right now where you feel like, yeah, this is an area in my life where I don't know if I could really believe for more? Okay, go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, what'd you all say? Anyone want to share anything out? Why is it difficult sometimes, perhaps, to believe for more?
Fear of failure.
Oh, that's a good one. Fear of failure. Yeah, absolutely. It's a good one. Anyone else? What's that? Disappointment. Yeah, absolutely. Not wanting to be disappointed. Sometimes it's better not to hope, because at least that way you're not setting yourself up for disappointment. Absolutely. Physical limitations. Yeah. Are there certain things that are hindering us for actually just believing for more? There's certain realities that would prevent us from doing certain things, accomplishing certain things. Absolutely. I was thinking, I think one of the reasons why I think perhaps it's hard to believe for more is that I think the truth is you can't always see the more, right? You can't always see the possibility. You can't always see the opportunity. You can't always see what's beyond the horizon. You can't always see what's around the corner. You can't always see the light at the end of the tunnel, right? I was thinking about this thing, belief, which could be defined as simply this idea of having faith or trust or confidence in someone or some things. That's one of the definitions of belief. I think the truth in the matter is that when it comes to belief, it's easier. I don't want to say it's always easy, but it's certainly easier to believe something or someone when you could actually see that something or someone, when you could touch that something or someone, when you could feel that someone or something, when you could smell and experience that someone or something. So that's why it's easy to believe then the things that are in front of us. Oh, it's easy to believe the obstacle that stands in my way because I could actually feel it. It's easy for me to believe that there's a closed door in front of me because that closed door has slammed my face 5 times already, right? So it's easy to believe in the thing that which we could see and touch and feel. And I think oftentimes possibility, the more that sometimes we want to believe for, the reason why it's hard to believe for it is because we can't see it. And when we can't see it, it's hard to, like, has anyone ever told you something? You know, they go somewhere and they tell you a story about something that happens, and your initial response is like, I don't believe it. You know what I'm talking about? I don't believe it. That's impossible. Have you ever said it? That's unbelievable. Well, why is it unbelievable? Why does it feel like that's something you can't believe? Because one, you probably didn't see it happen. And two, you can't even visualize it. See, sometimes you don't have to see it physically, but you have to at least be able to visualize the thing. And sometimes the more is so abstract, it's so far out, it's so beyond what our current reality is. It's outside of our periphery and our vision that we can't even visualize it. Therefore, we can't believe it. And here's what happens, I think. Here's the danger. Here's the result. And maybe some of us, this is where we are right now at the top of 2025, is that because you can't see the more, what results then is that we just believe in what's right in front of us. And so right now, this idea of believing for more, that sounds really hard and challenging, because the thing that's actually easier is just to look at the thing that's right in front of you, to look at your current set of circumstances, to look at the situation, to look at your current financial situation, to look at the current situation in your relationship, to look at your particular job or vocation and career, and to see this is what it looks like right now. And it's always easier to believe what's in front of me and harder to believe that which we cannot see. So then we start to believe a lie that says, well, maybe how things are now is how things are always going to be. And so to believe for more in 2025, when all I can see around me is the wind and the storms and the chaos, well, that's hard to do. And so what happens is some of us, we actually stop believing. And we give up believing that more is even possible. And can I just implore you, on this first Sunday of 2025, here's my hope and my prayer for you and I, is that we don't quit believing for more. That we wouldn't stop believing for more, that we wouldn't give up. No, that we would continue to believe that more is possible, even when you can't see it, even when you can't touch it, even when you can't feel it. In fact, Hebrews 11, I love Hebrews 11 because I want to remind us that, do you realize that at the core of what it means for those of us who subscribe to this idea of this faith called Christianity, for those of us who subscribe to being followers of Jesus, can I remind you that at the core, this is the reason why you can't stop believing for more. Because at the core of what it means to be a believer, a Christian, a follower of Jesus, is that you would actually believe that more is possible. And that believing more is possible is believing the things in which you cannot see. Hebrews 11 reminds us of this. Look what it says. It says this. It says, now faith, somebody say faith. AKA belief, right? Belief can be defined as what? Faith, trust, confidence in someone or something. Now belief is confidence in what we hope for and assurance about what? What we do not see. This is the definition. Do you realize this is core to what it means to be a person of faith, right? Faith is the confidence in what we hope. It's the ability to believe in the more. And what I love about this idea of belief and faith that Hebrews is talking about, it's not talking about wishful thinking. You realize there's a difference between the faith and the belief and the trust and the confidence that Hebrews 11 is talking about than just wishful thinking, right? Wishful thinking is a thing. You know that song, Skee-Lo? I wish I was a little bit taller. No, I wish I was a baller. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was taller. I wish I was taller. I wish I was a baller. I wish I had a girl who looked good, I would call her, something like that. Okay. Right? So you can wish some things, but those things actually probably aren't going to happen. So I wish I was a little bit taller, but due to genetics, that's probably not going to happen, right? I'm wishing that my 16-year-old son would get his growth spurt and get 6 inches so he could, get a scholarship and pay for his own way through college. I wish. You know what I'm saying? I'm praying. That's what I'm going to be praying for my 21 days. I'll tell you that. I can wish those things, but this is talking about something different. Now, faith is the confidence in what we hope for. It's not just wishful thinking. It's the ability to believe, to trust, have faith and confidence that what you are believing for is actually possible. There's a plausibility to it. that there's an actualization, that this thing that you're believing for can actually be manifested. And here's what's so powerful about this belief and this faith. It says what? Now, faith is the confidence in what we hope for and the assurance about what we do not see. Church, anybody could believe in what they see already. I mean, it's easy to come to church and believe and have faith that the chair you're about to sit in is going to hold you up. Because why? You've seen it happen before. I know this stool is going to hold me up unless I slip. But the chair I know because I've seen it. But anybody could have faith like that. The faith that's powerful, the kind of belief that actually would compel us and allow us to see the possibility that's around the corner, is the type of belief and type of faith where you don't need to see it to believe it. Where you could still, and if you go on in Hebrews 11:2, it's such a powerful thing. Because Hebrews 11:2, it goes on, and this is oftentimes called the Hall of Faith. The Hall of Fame, right? It's a play on the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Faith, right? So these are the goats of the faith. Look what it says in Hebrews 11:2, if you continue on. It says, this is what the ancients were commended for. These are people throughout Scripture, right? It says, by faith, we understand that the universe was formed at God's command, so that what is seen was not made out of what was visible. And then it goes on and starts listing out some of these Hall of Faithers. By faith, Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith, he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offerings. And by faith, Abel still speaks, even though he is dead. By faith, Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. He could not be found because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended as the one who pleased God. Then I love this. It says, by faith, Noah, y'all remember Noah? Noah's Ark? Remember that for those of us who went to church, Sunday school? Noah's Ark. By faith, Noah, watch what it says. When warned about things not yet seen. This is what faith is. This is what belief is. In holy fear, nonetheless built an ark to save his family. By faith, by his faith, he condemned the world and became heir of the righteousness that is in keeping with faith. By Abraham, y'all remember Abraham? Father Abraham. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place that he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though the place in which he was going to, he did not see it. Even though he did not know where he was going. These are the Hall of Faithers. And here's what I want us to see, church. The reason why they made the Hall of Faith was not because they had a special faith. Their faith wasn't any different than our faith and your faith and my faith. They didn't have a special faith. The only reason why they end up in the Hall of Faith is because why? Is because they believed in what was not visible. They believed in that which could not be seen. And even when they couldn't see it, they never stopped believing. Oh, they saw what was around them. And they could have just told themselves, well, I could see what's around me, so I'm just going to believe that. But no, they chose to say, I'm going to believe for the things that cannot be seen yet. And in continuing to believe and to not give up believing and to continue to hope and to have faith, well, then the things in which God had in store for them, the more they were actually able to actualize. They were actually able to manifest. Church, can I encourage us? This is the key. This is the key to believing for more, even when the more seems hard, even when the more seems out of sight, is that if we're willing to just keep believing and to keep having faith, even when we can't see it, even we can't touch it. See, more oftentimes than not is on the other side of the wall that you see. More oftentimes than not is on the other side of that closed door, but we're never going to actualize and see and step into the more if we give up and if we quit. And so my hope and my prayer for us as we embark on these 21 days, this is why we're embarking on this journey. This is my hope for these 21 days, right? People pray and fast for a lot of different reasons. To find alignment with God, to experience greater, deeper intimacy with God, relationship with God, right? To posture ourselves in a way where we're prioritizing the things of God. But as it pertains to this idea of believing for more, here's, I think, the particular invitation. And so in particular, if you're having a hard time maybe believing for more in 2025, I want to encourage you to do these two things. Number one, I think here's the opportunity over these next 21 days as we begin this prayer and fasting journey. One is that it would be an invitation to ask God to help your unbelief. So we can come into this space and say, yeah, I don't know if I have the capacity right now and the wherewithal within myself to believe for more. Because all I see is the winds and the waves and the storms raging around me. That's my reality right now. That's all I can see, and so that's what I'm believing. But if there is more, then God, you got to help me because I'm having a hard time believing for more. I love this passage in Mark chapter 9. Mark chapter 9, verse 14 through 20, it talks about a father who had a son who had some issues, was demon-possessed. And let me just read it for us. Let me read it for us. Mark chapter 9, verse 14. I think we have it up on the screen, Oscar. Mark chapter 9, verse 14. Look what it says. It says, and when he came to he's talking about Jesus. When Jesus came to his disciples, he saw a great multitude around them and the scribes disputing with them. Immediately, when they saw him, all the people were greatly amazed and running to him, greeted him. And he asked the scribes, what are you discussing with them? Then one of the crowd answered and said, Teacher, I brought to you my son, who has a mute spirit. And whenever it seizes him, it throws him down. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. So I spoke to your disciples that they should cast out this demon, but they could not. And Jesus answered him and said, Oh, faithless generation, how long shall I be with you? How long I bear with you? Bring him to me. So he tells the father, bring me your son. Verse 20. Then they brought him to him, and when he saw him, immediately the spirit convulsed him, and he fell to the ground and wallowed, foaming at the mouth. So he asked his father, how long has this been happening to him? And look at the father's response. And he said, from childhood. In other words, this is all I've known of my son. This has been his experience day in and day out, hour after hour, minute, for how long? Since his childhood. And often he has thrown him both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us. And watch Jesus' response in verse 23. Jesus said to him, if you can, somebody say believe. There's power in belief. If you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. And immediately the father of the child cried out and said, this is what I want us to see. Cried out and said with tears, Lord, I believe, but help my unbelief. Can I just encourage somebody today? You came into 2025 and maybe a lot of 2024 was spent in tears. This is all I know. This is all I've seen. This has been my reality for the past 365 days. I want to believe for more, but it's so hard. Can I encourage you? Maybe all you needed, maybe these next 21 days is an invitation for you to do what this father did, which is to say, Jesus, God, Creator, I want to believe so bad that there's more, but it's so hard because this is all I see. Would you help my unbelief? Would you help me believe? So that could be your prayer. Number two is this. Ask God to help your unbelief. If you're having a hard time believing, these 21 days, I invite you, I challenge you. Ask God to help your unbelief. God, would you give me the capacity and the ability and the strength and the courage to believe again? And then number two is this. It's an invitation to ask God, God, what's the more? Right. See, sometimes we have a hard time believing for the more because we actually don't know what the more is. We've just been so tied up and consumed with what's been around us and what we could see and what we believe for the past 3 years, the past 10 years, the past 6 months, that even to have the capacity to believe and to imagine a different scenario, a different outcome, a different circumstance, it's beyond us, right? You ever been so immersed in something that the thing that you're immersed in is the only thing that you could see? So some of us, we've come into 2025 and you can't really think about what the more is even because you're just so consumed with your current reality and your current situation. And so I think here's the other invitation for us as we embark on this 21-day prayer and fasting journey. Ask God and say, God, what's your more? Oh, it's not just about what I want more of. God, what's your more? I love this passage in Ephesians. Let me read one more passage for us, and then we'll bring this to a close. We're going to close with communion. Ephesians 3, 14 through 20. It's titled sometimes in your Bibles, A Prayer for Ephesus, or the Ephesians. The Apostle Paul, he writes this letter to the church in Ephesus, and towards the middle of it, he writes out this prayer for the Ephesian church. And look what Paul says in Ephesus, or Ephesians 3, verse 14. It says, "For this reason I kneel before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and on earth derives its name, and I pray." Come on, how many know there's power in praying? "I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being." What is Paul praying for? Paul is praying that God would give them a capacity to do the thing which they can't do on their own. So if you don't have the capacity to believe right now, part of what we're doing over these 21 days is, God, help me have the capacity. Help me to have the strength. Help me to have the courage. Help me to have the faith to actually believe. I pray that out of his glorious riches he may strengthen you with power through his Spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. And I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power, together with all the Lord's holy people, to grasp how wide and how long and how high and how deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of the fullness of God. Church, do you realize that God desires more for you? God desires more for us. God desires more for this church. God desires more for our neighborhoods and for our communities and for this world. God always desires more. And look what it says in verse 20. "Now to him who is able to do immeasurably," you can say, more. Could somebody say immeasurably more? This is Paul's prayer. "To God who is able to do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine, according to his power that is at work within us. To him be the glory in the church and in Christ Jesus throughout all generations, forever and ever and ever." Church, can I remind you, on this first Sunday of 2025, God wants more for you. God wants more for us. And here's the thing about God's more. Sometimes God's more is actually bigger than your more. Paul says it. God, your more is immeasurably more than what we could even think or imagine. So I wonder, here's the invitation, church. It's not just, God, help me in my unbelief so I can believe for more. But God, what is the more that you would have for me? What is the more that you would have for my family? What is the more that you would have for my job or my vocation? What is the more that you would have for my relationships? What is the more that you would have for my church? What is the more that you would have for tomorrow? What is the more that you would have for what's happening out in the Middle East? What is the more that you would have for this community to thrive? What is the more, God? I think the invitation for our 21 days is would you maybe do a little brainstorming session with God? You ever been a part of a brainstorming session? I love brainstorming sessions because I'm not smart enough to think about things on my own. So you know what, especially when I don't know the answer, I'm like, I got to get some smart people around me to do some brainstorming. So I called up Chris. I'm like, Chris, help me with these 21 days because I need some help. Let's brainstorm together. I love brainstorming because why? Because we get to combine our minds with the minds of others. You know what the invitation over these next 21 days of prayer and fasting are? Have a 21-day brainstorming session with God. You ever thought about that? Some of us, we make resolutions without actually having a brainstorm session with God first. Oh, I got my resolutions. I know what I'm going to do. This is my bucket list for 2025. Yeah, your bucket list might be kind of cool. It might be dope. It might be all the things. But I wonder if it could even be better if you actually brainstormed your bucket list with the God who created you, who knows you, who put some things on the inside of you that you might not even know is even there. I think that's the invitation. That's my hope. That's my encouragement. Let's brainstorm with God and ask God, God, I don't want to just settle for my more, but God, what's your more? I want to know that more. I want to hear that more. I want to receive revelation for the more that you would have for my life. And so that's my hope and my prayer for us, church. That's what these next 21 days are about. I want us to believe for more. And we could do that when we're willing to go to God and say, God, help me believe. And two, God, help me understand and receive revelation for the more that you would actually have for my life. You want to do that? So here's how it's going to work, all right? Here's how it's going to work. If you have mobile devices, maybe you don't. If you have a mobile device, take that out right now. And go to commongood.church/21days. It's also at the top nav of our website, commongood.church. But shortcut, direct link, I'm giving it to you so you don't have to search. commongood.church/21days. And I guess worship team, you can come on up too, because we're going to get into communion, and then we'll end in the closing song. Are you there? Tell me when you're there. commongood.church/21days. Awesome. This is what we call our 21-day prayer and fasting portal. Okay, so that means it has all the information that you need to participate with us over these next 21 days, which starts officially Monday, January 6th. Which is tomorrow, okay? And if you go, there's a section, I think, right below the theme verse, Hebrews 11. It tells you how to participate. There's a couple ways that you could participate. One is you could just worship with us. So by showing up here on a Sunday, you're already participating, right? We're going to be worshiping together. We're going to be meeting together, singing songs together, hearing the word together, having conversation over the next 3 Sundays, starting today, okay? So that's the first way that you could participate. The second way that you could participate is, what's the second one on there? Is it prayer? Prayer. So you could pray with us, all right? So we're obviously going to be praying here when we gather. So appreciate Chris leading us in that liturgical prayer. We're going to be leading and offering different ways of praying even during our services. Because how many know there's not just one way to pray? There's a lot of different ways to pray. So we're going to be experimenting and exploring some of those different ways of praying and connecting with God and talking to God and hearing from God and meditating with God. So we're going to be praying. There's also ways for you during these 21 days where you could submit prayer requests. So right there in that portal, if you have a prayer request, if you're like, man, I'm having a really hard time, I need some help in this, submit a prayer request, and our prayer team, our leadership team will be praying with you and for you. Also, after service every Sunday, we'll have a prayer team available up here. So if there's anything that you just need prayer for, in the moment, maybe God was speaking something to your heart during the service or something's been happening in your life, we'll pray for you right here, right now, okay? So that's what's going to be, we're going to be praying together. And the other way that we're going to be praying together is through what we call our daily prayer guide. So I think right underneath that section, there's what we call our daily prayer guide. If you don't have our CG app, you can access it through this 21-day portal. But the best way to do it is actually to download the app. So how many of y'all have the CG app? That's the go-to, okay? So actually really quick, why don't you do that? Sorry, multitasking. Flip over now to the app real quick, okay? Stay on the 21 days, bookmark that. We'll come to that back real quick. But go to the CG app really quick. So on the CG app, here's what you're going to find. On our featured page, right there on the front, you'll see a little, I don't know what you call them, picture. You should see this picture right there. Do you see it on the app? I think it's the second thing down. It's called the Daily Prayer Guide. Click on that. So this is not to be legalistic, is not to say you have to do it, but this is I think sometimes the reason why maybe prayer might be hard is because we don't really know how to pray or where to start. So this is just a tool to help you. So if you're like, I need some help, I don't know what to pray, how to pray, this is a guide to help you, okay? So you'll see there that what we're going to be doing is there's a couple intros, prepare a couple little tips on how to pray, how to fast. There's also a little tip on there, I think it's called how to use this prayer guide. And then you'll see day 1 and day 2 on there, okay? We're going to be adding to that throughout the week. So hopefully by day 3, you'll see another prayer topic and devotional for that day 3, day 4, day 5. So far, you've got day 1 and day 2 on there. We're going to keep adding throughout the 21 days, okay? So that's where you're going to be able to get daily inspiration. That's what's going to help unite us as a community as we pray so that we're praying through similar topics, okay? So that's what the daily prayer guide is for, all right? Now, if you flip back to the 21-day prayer and fasting portal on the website, I think we have worship, we have pray, then we have fasting. Now, I realize this might be a spiritual discipline that is foreign to you. Maybe you've never fasted before. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the 21-day prayer and fasting portal, there's a little bit on fasting and how to fast. Now, one of the common ways that you could fast is fasting through food. And so there's some tips and things in terms of if you're going to do that, if maybe you want to do a Daniel fast, if you want to remove certain things from your diet, maybe you want to just do a juice and liquid fast. There's that option. But hey, maybe there's physical limitations where you're like, I can't do that right now in the season. Well, I think there's other meaningful ways to fast, because at the end of the day, fasting is not really about dieting. Fasting simply is about giving something or some things up that are significant and important, and perhaps take up a big portion of your day, i.e. food. How many of y'all just eat 3 times a day without even thinking about it? It's just what we do. It's how we live and exist as human beings. And so part of it is when you don't do the thing, you're creating space to be present with God. That's what fasting really is. There's nothing magical about it. It's that God is always present with us, but we're not always present with God because we're so busy, we're so distracted. And so fasting is to remove a few things, aka social media maybe, right? Doom scrolling on the Instagram, watching your favorite Netflix. We're going to fast from that momentarily, not to punish ourselves, but to remove some things that take up a lot of time in our day-to-day, so we might actually have more time to just sit and be with God, to commune with God. Okay, so that's what fasting is about. So again, we encourage you, try fasting if you've never done it before. I think it could be a powerful thing for you. And then the last thing is to commune with us. We're going to break our fast, and we haven't finalized all the details yet, but on the 4th Sunday, so we got 3 Sundays together here, 4th Sunday, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to break our fast by having breakfast together. But now I know we're meeting at 3 p.m., so it's a little bit different. But I don't want to wait until 3 p.m. to eat again. So we're going to break fast over breakfast. Okay, and it sounds bad. We're going to break fast over breakfast. So we're going to do an offsite. Okay, so this is all our fam, everyone, our For Tomorrow fam. We're gonna get a cool, nice location offsite, and we're gonna break fast together. We're gonna have food, breakfast, and we're gonna use that time to pray and just to share perhaps what God showed us and revealed to us over those 21 days. So that's how we're gonna conclude. That, I believe, is January 26th. Okay. So that's the rundown. I know that was a lot. Again, if you have any questions, 21 days, commongood.church/21 days, and then make sure you're tuning in to the daily prayer guide on that. But if you have any questions, come talk to myself. But we're really, really hopeful. My hope and my prayer for us is that that we'll believe for more in 2025, that we won't settle for anything less. And if you're having a hard time believing, if it's been a while since you've given yourself permission to dream again, to hope again, to have faith that maybe God has more for you, whatever that might be. My hope and my prayer is that this would be an invitation for you to give yourself permission to believe again. And I know it can be scary. I know it can be scary. But we're going to do this together. We're going to believe for more together. And if you can't believe for more for yourself, the person sitting next to you is going to believe for more for you. Come on. That's the beauty of community. That's the beauty of being a church. That's the beauty of being a family. All right? We're going to conclude with communion. So can we grab the kiddos? Get the kiddos in here.